the itinerary is going to kind of go like this. We're going to talk a little bit about meditation, introduce it to you in case this is your first time meditating or even kind of hearing about meditation, whatever, right? Then we'll do a very short meditation to kind of familiarize ourselves with, well, how do we do this, right? How do we actually meditate? And then we're going to get into our topic for today. And our topic for today was a request by multiple people for one on perfectionism, or feeling like you're a perfectionist, right? And what you can do about that. So we're going to kind of analyze that a little bit and see how meditation can help you kind of combat some of those feelings of perfectionism, right? Cool. So if this is your first time, take advantage of the live format and ask questions. That's what, the benefit of doing this live is. If you're like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, Keith, I don't know what you're talking about. If you type that, I will try to rephrase what I was talking about to help you understand. This is, different than if you're using an app or watching a pre-made video. And I think that this is a really good format for learning meditation because everyone has a different experience with it and questions come up. Hey, Ivy, welcome. Okay, so ask questions. You can just type them in chat, or if that's not cool with you, you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat later. You can email me at any time. All right? So let's get started. We're going to get started by talking about meditation as like a baseline. Like, what is it, right? So what is meditation? Most of the time when we think about meditation, the first thing that pops up is relaxing, right? We're kind of zoning out, right? And meditation kind of does this, right? But the way in which we relax with meditation is pretty important, and it's something that you might not pick up on unless it's taught to you, right? So meditation is really a technique, a learning tool for familiarizing your mind with something. That's it. Right? So you're like, oh, what the heck does that mean? I would like to relax, Keith. Well, we can look at how important familiarization is in our life to start to understand why meditation is really great at relaxing us, because it's a training in familiarity, right? So what are some things you're really familiar with? Hey, Patrick. What are some things you're super familiar with? Like, you don't even have to think about it. Brushing your teeth, all right? Tying your shoe, walking. I don't know, there's a million things. You do a lot of stuff each day, right? And most of it you do pretty effortlessly, right? So let's take tying your shoe. I like using this one. It's kind of fun to think about. So tying your shoe is very easy for you right now, I would imagine. If I was like, hey, tie your shoe with your eyes closed, you'd be like, yeah, it's super easy. And you just tie your shoe with your eyes closed, which is kind of impressive, right? Think about it. Because at some point in your life, tying your shoe was quite literally the most complex, challenging problem that you were trying to solve, right? And now, look at you. Through repetition, through familiarity, what happens? Tying your shoe becomes easier to you. It flows to you very naturally, we could say, right? Breathing's a good one, Ivy. That's a great one, right? So the concept of familiarity, we can see, plays a huge role in our life, because when we are really familiar with something, it comes naturally to us. Now, for better or for worse, right? So let's take something like anger. How easy is it to get angry? Do you have to try to get angry? You ever try to get angry? I'm going to get angry right now. It doesn't really work. Right? Anger, it just comes like that, right? We're having a great day. Somebody says something to us and bam, we're angry. We don't have to try. It comes naturally to us, right? This isn't because we're angry. like inherently angry. It's because we've had a lot of practice getting angry, and so our mind is familiar with doing that. So if we get into a situation where mind's like, oh, I'll take it from here, I know exactly what to do, I'm gonna get angry. And this is all through training and familiarization. The more we get angry, the easier it is to get angry, right? So meditation is a technique in choosing what we want to be familiar with, right? So instead of anger, what about patience? Right now, that might be pretty difficult to be patient in tough situations, right? But we can train our mind to become so familiar with being patient that being patient comes as naturally to us as anything else, right? So in regards to relaxation, since that's why a lot of people, it's like a good entry point for meditation. Meditation isn't relaxing you. Meditation is teaching you to become familiar with this relaxed state that you have with you all the time, right? It pops up from time to time. Doesn't it? It's just like, I'm having a great day, blah, blah, blah. It's there, right? And so meditation is a way of becoming more familiar with it. That way, why? It comes more naturally to us. We can relax easier with less effort. Right now, sometimes it takes a lot of effort for us to unwind and relax, right? Cool. So that's all well and good. But the first thing we're going to do with meditation is kind of clear out some of the junk in our mind, all the anxieties and stress. We're going to relax our mind just a little bit. Why? Because when our mind is super agitated, it doesn't really work that well, right? Like we get mad at things we normally wouldn't get mad at, and then later we're like, I don't know what I was so mad about, and then we're getting anxious about things that we normally wouldn't, worry about, and later we're like, I don't know what I was worried about. So before we can kind of really take advantage of meditation in terms of familiarizing ourselves with a concept, whether it's gratitude, kindness, whatever, we got to learn how to relax a little bit, right? And so the analogy I love to use for this to kind of illustrate what we're going to be doing, imagine you are at a lake, right? It's a beautiful day. There's no wind, no rain. You can see and describe the reflection in that lake very easily. It's very clear, right? The reflection. If it starts to rain, the reflection is not as clear, little ripples, right? If it starts to rain a lot, you're not reading any sort of reflection out of there, right? The reflection's there. It's just obscured by the rain. Right? Same is true for our mind. Our mind is normally just like this lake, still, calm, cool, collected, thinking reasonably about our problems, very clear, right? All of the anxiety, stress, stimuli, thoughts bouncing around our head all day long. There's a lot of them. Those are like raindrops, and it's making it hard for us to access the stillness of our mind, just like the rain makes it hard for us to access the kind of stillness of the lake, right? So we want to clear away some of the raindrops. Not all. Don't worry about doing that. We want to do some, because even just a little bit, that reflection becomes more clear, right? So the way we're going to do this is with something called single-pointed concentration. Very fancy. All it means is focusing on one thing, right? This is kind of meditation 101, right? Single-pointed concentration just means focusing on one thing. Or in other words, not multitasking. How do you think that's going to go? Talk about familiarity. We are super familiar with multitasking. We do it all day long. We've done it all day long for the vast majority of our life. And so what happens? We're very good at it. It comes very naturally to us. Focusing on one thing, choosing to focus on one thing exclusively, not something we practice as much. And so it might be challenging at first, right? But we can train. We can get better at it. So if you've ever been in the zone, it's kind of like a similar vibe. You're working on something diligently at work, working on your project, right? What happens? You lose track of time. All the noises that normally really annoy you, they're like kind of not there, right? They're there, but it seems like they're not there because you're so plugged in to one thing, right? In the zone. So we're going to start to train in doing this intentionally, because sometimes we do it, but it's unintentionally. So we want to get better at doing this intentionally. Rob, I'm either sleeping or doing 4 things, no in between. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. That's great, man. It's true. It's true. We're really just never doing one thing unless we're sleeping. Awesome. So we're going to do a meditation now, breathing meditation. Probably heard of it. It's pretty, it's like a good starting point. And the way it's going to work is we are going to make a choice. I am going to focus exclusively on my breath, single-pointedly concentrating on my breath. And when I notice that my mind has drifted, thinking about something I got to do later or something happened earlier, I'm going to be like, not right now. Go back to breathing. Right? That's it. That's meditation. A lot of times we feel meditation is, never being distracted or, just, I don't know, sitting, zoning out for, hours or whatever. No. Meditation is a practice of choosing to focus single-pointedly on one thing, in this case, our breath, noticing when you're not focusing on that and being able to bring your attention back. That's the practice of meditation, right? Cool? So we're going to do that now. Sound good? Something I forgot to mention. Why do we use our breath? Why do we do breathing meditation? I think the best, at least in my opinion, the reason why I think it's so great as a starting point is you always have your breath with you, right? So this kind of dives into a really deep part of meditation that we don't need particular external conditions in order to meditate, in order to relax. We don't need perfect silence. We don't need to leave our friends behind. We don't need to go live on a mountaintop. We don't need any of that. We just need our breath and a little bit of effort and patience, right? So sit comfortably. Chair's fine. Floor's fine if you're comfortable. Laying down, also fine. It's all fine. And just make sure you're relatively comfortable. That's a good first step. And then you can go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to do about a 5-minute breathing meditation. I'm going to guide us through this, okay? All right. Whenever we start a meditation, first things first, check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now, in this moment, this exact moment? Not how you felt earlier, right now. Are you tired, energetic, happy, sad? Doesn't matter. All that matters is you notice. Take note of what your mind is up to. This is called mindfulness. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your thoughts moment to moment for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully to those thoughts. It's our first line of defense. So just check in. And having done that, you can now turn your full attention to your breath. Make a choice. Choose to focus exclusively on your breath, breathing in and out, gently, naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths or forcefully exhale the air. All you're doing is breathing in and out normally, naturally, and following each moment of your breath. Staying with your breath as the air enters your nose and then staying with the air as it exits your nose. And at some point, you may notice that your attention drifts. It's no longer exclusively focused on following your breath. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier in the day, or something coming up later after class that you have to do. Whenever you notice that your mind has drifted, you can just gently say, "Not right now," to those thoughts, and guide your attention back to breathing in and out, gently, naturally. As you begin to relax a little bit into your chair or cushion. Keep breathing in and out, following the air. Feeling the air enter your nose and exit. Breathing in and out. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice that it has drifted. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention has drifted, and being able to guide your attention back to breathing, that is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to focus, to relax, to be happy, to access its natural reservoir of peacefulness. And you're doing it all on your own with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful. So just continue to breathe in and out gently, naturally for a little while longer. Allow yourself to enjoy sitting here in this present moment. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? Any first timers? Is that your first time meditating? So if you found that to be difficult, right? Like, oh man, my mind's jumping all over the place. Well, what are you more familiar with? Letting your mind jump all over the place, or kind of directing your mind to focus on something single pointedly, right? It's all about familiarity. Familiarity is a huge component of our life. Janelle, don't worry about it. You're usually always here on time. Doesn't matter if you're late. So we are just really familiar with letting our mind do whatever it wants. That's basically kind of just how we operate, right? Our mind's like, hey, you're going to worry about that thing. I'm like, okay, worry about it. You're like, hey, you're going to, be upset about that thing somebody said to you 3 years ago. Okay, I guess I'll be upset about that. It seems like we're not in the driver's seat. So we want to be in the driver's seat, right? We are in control of our own mind. And breathing meditation in general, is a really good way of training your mind to be okay with focusing on what you want to focus on. Right now, your mind's like, no, dude, I'm not focusing on your breath. I got a lot going on right now, right? But eventually, through repetition, right, our mind will become more familiar with this, and our mind will be like, oh, you want to focus on your breath single pointedly? Yeah, cool. Right? So that's what we're striving for, right? Rosa went great. Glad to hear it. Awesome. Let's move on. Unless anyone has any questions about breathing meditation or meditation in general. If not, I'm going to move on to our topic. Perfectionism, request by multiple people. All right. And great suggestion, by the way. I can't believe I haven't done this before. So what does the word perfect mean? All right. So let's start there, right? We have to kind of break down what this concept of being a perfectionist or perfectionism is. What does the word perfect mean? No flaws, right? Flawless, all right? Or, you can even kind of, it's implying that this thing or whatever was done the correct way, right? Implying that there's one way to do it and you did it, right? Perfect. Right? So think about think about your perfect day, right? Whatever it is, right? Sun shining, right? Don't have anything to do, right? The perfect day, right? Or the perfect painting, like going to an art gallery or something. We're like, oh, it's flawless. Perfect painting, right? Perfect implies that there is no flexibility, right? That's an interesting concept. We're starting to get a little deeper into it, right? Because if something is perfect, flawless, right? This way is the right way. Any other way, not. So it's not flexible, right? And flexibility is a huge topic in meditation and understanding how our mind works, right? So perfectionism is kind of the pursuit of perfect, the pursuit of this. I view without flaws or errors. Exactly, right? It's an interesting kind of example of seeking perfection. To-do lists. What's a to-do list? Here's how my day is going to go. I'm going to wake up at 8 o'clock. I don't know, maybe that's late for you. I'm going to wake up whenever, right? And then I'm going to have my coffee, and I'm going to read the news, right? Then I'm going to drive in my car to work, and I will get to work on time. And when I get to work, I will start on this project and blah, 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 blah. Right? We have the whole day planned out, right? And then what happens? It falls apart. It don't go that way, right? So, but what we're doing with the to-do lists, like subtly, we're implying that if I can do all these things perfect, right? That's exactly how my day needs to go, right? And what we're doing is kind of setting ourselves up to be stressed out if it's not going that way, right? A list that gets done 2 weeks from now. That sounds like me. So perfectionism is kind of this pursuit of the concept of perfect, flawless, without flaws, right? What is the kind of root cause of perfectionism, right? So we go a little deeper thinking about what it means if we're like striving for this concept of perfect. So there is, maybe I hadn't thought about this until I kind of learned about it. But with perfectionism, there is a kind of implied concern for our reputation, right? What do I mean by that? What others will think of me, right? If I don't do this, if I don't, nail this presentation, everyone's going to think I'm dumb. Right? If I don't, get to this event on time, everyone's going to think I'm lazy. Right? Or even like you'll think less of you. Right? Sometimes we're our own harshest critics. If I don't do this, I'm going to feel like a failure. Right? It could also be, just kind of thought about this. It could also be for not just tasks, but like, you ever had trouble saying no? What's that? Right? What are we doing there? Oh, I don't want to say no. They'll think I'm selfish, or I don't want to say no. They'll think I'm a jerk, right? Concern of reputation. And so we strive, right, to be perfect. So perfectionism, fear of bad reputation, that kind of go hand in hand, and both come from believing that there is no flexibility, right? And so that kind of ties into what we were talking about with the concept of perfect, the word perfect, right? There's no flexibility. If I do not nail this presentation, people will think I'm stupid. It's not like, they might, right? No, it's like they will, right? There's no flexibility, right? And so this drives us to kind of try to achieve this perfectionism because we believe there's no flexibility. It's a really important point. I keep saying flexibility, but it's important. So some other kind of examples of this are the way, we see things. Another way of kind of phrasing this, the way we see things is the way everyone sees them. That's what we think, right? Or the way we see ourselves is the way everybody sees us, right? So sometimes perfectionism can kind of manifest in like a self-image issue, right? Because we believe there's no flexibility. We believe that the way we view ourselves is the way everyone views us, right? Little heady, but important for understanding kind of where we're going with perfectionism, right? So far, so good? So, where does this concept of perfection exist? Right? A weird question, right? Where does it exist? Right? Let's go back to the artwork example. You and I go to a gallery. we have a nice little day ahead of us. We're going to a gallery and we're going to go look at some artwork, right? Going to go look at artwork of this particular artist, even, right? Narrowing it down. And we're there, and you're looking at this one painting by this artist, and you're like, man, immaculate, perfect. It's perfect, right? And I'm sitting there looking at the same painting, and I'm like, I don't get it. Kind of ugly. You ever have that experience? Right? We are looking at the same painting, right? It's not two different paintings. It's not a perfect painting and a not great painting. It's the same painting, but our responses two totally different ones, right? So which is it? Who's right? If the painting was inherently perfect, right? If the painting equaled perfect, then everybody would think so, right? Also, if the painting equaled ugly or not perfect, everybody would think that, right? But we can see that that's not the case, right? There's something else at play. There's flexibility, right? There's flexibility. Ivy, you both are. Yes, exactly, right? So what we're kind of getting at here is your mind determines what is perfect, not the situation or thing or whatever. Your mind is responsible for determining if something is perfect or not, right? Which is really good news, right? Because what it means is we have flexibility. You have the ability to control your thoughts, to it might take some training, right? But you have the ability to kind of dictate what your mind is doing, right? And so because your mind plays such an important role in this concept of being perfect or whatnot, it means that you have the power to kind of help with these feelings. Great, right? This is a really wonderful thing, right? Does that example kind of make sense? This is a very classic example in meditation. Though I have never been taught with it with artwork. I don't know why I thought I haven't been doing art, gallery in a long time. It is a personal and emotional concept. Yeah, for sure. So what we're kind of getting at here, right? We're digging into the root cause of perfection, right? And the root cause of perfection is believing that there is no flexibility in the thing that we're doing or whatever, right? This is called kind of the way we combat this is with something called wisdom, right? And in meditation land, wisdom I like to define as the way things when the way things are, right? The way things are versus the way they appear to be, right? It's kind of a weird definition, right? But knowing that the way things are might not be how they appear, right? So it appears as though there is no flexibility with this presentation, right? If I do not nail this presentation, people will think I'm dumb. I won't get the raise, whatever it is, right? No flexibility, right? But that's how things appear to us, right? That's how it appears to us. But the way things are, is that true? Not that, right? Think about your friend. If they were, if I don't nail this presentation, everyone's gonna think I'm dumb. What would you say? Be like, no, they're not. Look, if you screw up, who cares? Everybody screws up presenting. In fact, most people do, right? So the concept of flexibility, right? We can play with it by changing perspective, right? So these two things, wisdom and perspective, are how I would suggest using kind of some meditation techniques to help combat overwhelming feelings of perfectionism. Now, look, striving to do your best is great. Like, that's amazing. That's what we want to do. But that's very different than perfect, right? Striving to do the best that you can do in this moment is very different than this concept of perfect, right? So how do we combat perfectionism? One, using wisdom, this idea of knowing the way things are versus the way they appear to be, right? So we can think about different examples, right, that help illuminate this concept. So the art example is one, right? But it doesn't have to be that. Another one could be flying. If you're sitting next to somebody and they're super nervous about flying, they are not having a good time, and you're looking out the window, you're like, whoa, it's so cool. Look at how high up I am, right? Same plane, same time, same row. Almost everything is the same, but two totally different responses, right? We're just trying to familiarize our mind with the idea that things are flexible. Feelings are flexible, right? Concept of perfect is flexible, right? So it's very important to kind of stir up these thoughts, right? And then, as I mentioned before, we can kind of use perspective to check ourselves when we're feeling the kind of anxieties of perfectionism, right? And this is a thought experiment that I talk about a lot on this channel. I use it a lot for everything, when you're getting angry or whatever, because it boils down to a very very important point of meditation, that we react differently to things depending on if it's happening to us or somebody else, right? That's just how it is. That's how it seems to be. So we can use this to our advantage. So if we're feeling really stressed out, like, oh, if I don't nail this presentation, everyone's going to think I'm dumb. I gotta be perfect on it, right? We can think, what if my friend was in this exact same situation? What would I say to them? What advice would I give them, right? It probably wouldn't be like, hey, you're right. If you don't nail this, everyone's going to think you're dumb, including me. So you better nail this. We would never say that to them, right? We'd be like, hey, do your best, but no. If something happens, it's not a big deal, right? Everybody messes up, right? It's not a big deal, right? Totally different response, right? And then the kind of takeaway from this thought process is, well, we should take that advice for ourselves, right? So we're giving this awesome advice to our friend. We should take that advice for ourselves. So this is a really good way to help with feelings of perfectionism. Like, I have to do this way, otherwise bad, right? Cool? So I want to do a little meditation on this. So we'll start the same way. We'll start by doing a breathing meditation to kind of relax ourselves a little bit. And then I'll add a little something on the end. It's more formally called like a contemplation, right? all that means is thinking, right? So let's go back to that lake example, right? We remove some of the raindrops that were obscuring the reflection on the lake. Awesome, right? We do some breathing meditation to remove some of the bombardment of thoughts that were obscuring our peacefulness, right? Awesome. Well, now what? We can use that relaxed mind to think about something clearly, right? Just like we can look at the reflection clearly. We can look at something clearly, right? So this is called contemplation. And it's another part of meditation. It kind of equates to just thinking, but thinking with a clear mind about things, right? So we'll do a little bit of that at the end on perfectionism. Cool? Okay. So you can go ahead and close your eyes again. Make sure you're comfortable. You can change your seat if you weren't before. And I'm going to guide us through another meditation. Okay, here we go. Let's check in again. How are you feeling now? In this exact moment. Checking in and awareness of your thoughts is incredibly important for dealing with the anxieties of perfectionism. If we catch our thoughts of perfectionism early on, we can deal with them more skillfully. So just check in, see what your mind is up to. And having done that, you can now turn your full attention to your breath once again, breathing in and out gently, naturally. Following each moment of your breath as the air enters your nose, sits, and exits. Staying with your breath for each moment. Breathing in, breathing out. Gently, naturally. And if you notice that your attention has drifted a bit, you're a bit distracted, thinking about something other than your breath, no problem. You can just say, not right now, to those thoughts, and then gently guide your attention back to breathing in and out. As you begin to relax into your chair or cushion. Single-pointedly focused on each moment of your breath. You have nothing else to do right now. Just breathe in and out. When we begin to really plug in single-pointedly to our breath, you may start to notice some things about breathing, some subtle things that you hadn't really thought of before. Maybe you're noticing how the air feels cool temperature-wise as you breathe in. And the air feels a bit warmer each time you breathe out. How interesting. Or maybe you're noticing how your body moves when you breathe. Your shoulders rising and falling. Your chest expanding, contracting. every aspect of your body being an active participant in each breath. You're starting to notice some subtle joys in breathing. How amazing is that? That you are able to enjoy something as simple as breathing in and out, purely from making a choice to focus on it exclusively. What an amazing technique to train in. After having engaged in breathing meditation for a little while, maybe we're feeling a bit more relaxed, even slightly. We can then use this slightly more relaxed mind to think about something, to contemplate something. Today we're going to do a little contemplation on perfectionism. So just follow along with what I'm saying. I'd like you to bring to mind an instance, either past, present, future, doesn't matter, in which you felt you needed to do something perfectly. Maybe it's a project at work, or a project at home. Maybe it's saying yes to something that you didn't really want to. Whatever it is, just bring to mind an instance of this. Really feel those feelings. Feel what you felt. The anxiety of having to do this thing perfectly. Concern for your reputation. What will people think? And with those feelings, those sensations of the situation firmly in our mind, we can now do a thought experiment. We can shift perspectives. And we can imagine that our best friend, someone we care about dearly, they are in this exact same situation. Every aspect of it is the exact same. The only difference is that it's happening to them, not you. What advice would you give them? Think about it. Really think about it. What would you tell them? And you can think, was the response that you gave to them the same as what you gave to yourself? Probably not. Sometimes it can be really helpful to think about our best friend having the problem we're currently having, because our response is naturally compassionate, reasonable, clear. And then you can make a promise to yourself that you're going to take that advice for yourself the next time you encounter this situation. And finally, you can just spend a couple moments thinking about what would it mean for you? How would your life be better if you could be patient with your progress through things, if you could not be plagued by perfectionism? What would that mean for you? How would your day be different? Let that be the motivation you need to train in some of the things we talked about today. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Cool? Ivy, whoa, this is awesome. With things like a music recital, the audience doesn't know when you hit the wrong note. Only you, and maybe the judges. Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I'm experiencing some of this myself. I'm doing some home renovations here, and I'm like poring over this. I'm like, oh, it doesn't look great. And then my lovely wife comes down. She goes, looks amazing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It looks terrible, right? So it's a really good example, Ivy. Thank you for sharing. So that's what I would consider to be a full meditation, right? We start with breathing meditation to relax ourselves a little bit, and then we choose to focus on something. We choose to think about something if you want to. In this case, we're doing a little thought experiment about the perspective shift that we mentioned for perfectionism. Cool? All right, that's it for today. So if you had a good time, or you're like, this is pretty interesting, right? Come on back. I do this every week, every Wednesday, different topic. I don't know what next week's topic is going to be. Your guess is as good as mine, but it'll be meditation related. I can guarantee that. All right. Well, let me catch up. Janelle, perfectionism is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Ooh, good one. Carol, I would say to be kind to yourself, and that provides freedom. Very good advice, Carol, right? Patrick, thank you. I'm glad you had a good experience. So definitely come back if you liked it. You could also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Super helpful to me. Just a little click for you or tap. And like I said, very helpful for me. It lets YouTube know that, hey, people are interested in this. So that'd be really cool if you're inclined to do that. You also get notified when I'm going live. So when you are, sleeping, you're like, oh, I gotta meditate. Right? Maybe you don't want that. And if you were really into this, right? You're like, meditation sounds really cool. I really want to kind of deepen my understanding of it. I do one-on-one classes, right? That's how my main component of my business. So if that is interesting to you, and it's very good, we can focus on things that are very pertinent to your life, right? So if you're here for anxiety, we can focus on that. If that is interesting to you, you can just email me and we'll find a time that works. My email is keith@meditationbreaks.com. I'll type that in the chat. I think I spelled it right. Email me and we'll find a time that works. Cool? I do it over Zoom. Unless you're in the Denver area, then I guess we could meet up. but Zoom works great. Carol, thanks, Keith. Always a perfect whoops class. All right, nice. Janelle, good stuff. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Janelle. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I love teaching meditation, and I couldn't do it without you guys taking time out of your day, your busy days, to be here. So thank you for doing that. It means a lot to me, and hopefully you're leaving here a little more relaxed or a little more thought-provoked or one of those things. All right. Have a great one. All right. No perfectionism. And I'll see you guys next week. Okay. Take care.